Hello, Reverend Graham here again. A few weeks ago, I spoke on a passage from John chapter 4 in St. Peter's, looking at self-isolation and what we might find from the Bible when it comes to keeping ourselves self-distancing and shielded from the rest of society. Now, the passage I spoke on was John chapter 4, and if you've got a Bible, feel free to go and look it up now. If you haven't, go on Google, type in BibleGateway.com, and then hit John 4 into the search bar there, and that will bring you up this story of a woman from Samaria and her encounter with Jesus. Now, the story tells of Jesus being tired on a long, hot day. His disciples, his friends, have gone off into the local town to get some food, and they've left Jesus to get on with his own stuff. Now, he goes and speaks to this woman, a woman who he would not usually speak to, a woman who a male of that time would not usually have approached by himself, and yet this is Jesus. And he asks her for water. Simple request. It's hot, she's at a well, and so he asks her for water. And as the conversation goes on, this woman starts to get the idea that this may be something more than just a wandering bloke. That in this person in front of them might be the one they were waiting for. There's a conversation about where people should worship. One of the things that the Samaritans and the Jewish people at the time did not agree on was should they worship in the temple in Jerusalem or on the nearby mountain. Seems quite fitting as we no longer can worship in our churches. But in the midst of this, I think we get a good glimpse of Jesus meeting someone in self-isolation. Now, you might think, Graham, that's a bit of a stretch, looking at someone at a well 2,000 years ago. How does that tell us about self-isolation in today's pandemic? What about that meeting makes you think that this can teach us anything today? Well, for me, in chapter 4, verse 6, there is a very simple bit which tells me that I think this woman was self-isolating. It says in chapter 4, it was about the 6th hour. So this meeting, this coming together of Jesus and this woman is happening, or we'd say noon. And we all know, don't we, that the only people who go out in the midday sun are mad dogs and Englishmen. So why is this woman coming out at noon, at the hottest part of the day, to draw her water? Now, usually you'd go out at the very beginning of the day, where there's light to go and get water, but it's still quite cool for the arduous task of drawing the water. And it turns out when Jesus speaks to her, that this woman was being shunned, that she had had a number of husbands, that she was living with somebody who wasn't her husband, which at that time would have been a reason for people to stay away from her. And in this story, Jesus offers her living water, a water which will mean that she won't get thirsty again. And when she hears that, she simply responds, "Give me that water, and then I won't have to come to this well again." I reckon that this well is a place of isolation for this woman. A place where she has to go in the middle of the day, in the heat of the sun, so that she can draw water without being bullied, picked on. For very different reasons to today, she is self-isolating. She is practicing social distancing. Not because of a virus, but because of the hate that she's feeling from those around her. But in the midst of this, she meets Jesus. And she has her life changed the right way up. We see it when she goes and she tells the rest of her community, you know, this man has told me everything I've ever done. Is he the one we've been waiting for? And then they all come and they see, and they spend time with Jesus, and they then end up saying, you know what? We no longer just believe because of what you said. We now know it to be true. So, I don't know how long we'll be self-isolating for. We've been in quarantine now for 9 days in the Wilkins household. It poses its challenges. But at the same time, we see in this reading from the Bible that even in the midst of self-isolation, Jesus can meet us. That even in the midst of all that we go through in our days, that Jesus will come beside us. And that although we should absolutely follow all the guidelines from the government, that Jesus doesn't. That there is no room that he can't get into. That there is no house where he is barred from. There is no person, however lonely, however removed from a daily life, that he doesn't love and that he doesn't want to come and offer his love and his peace. But we don't even have to go back to that woman at the well 2,000 years ago to find an example of Jesus meeting someone when they're in isolation. Our very own Julian of Norwich spent years down near King Street in Norwich in a cell, staying in that one small room, praying, having visions of God's love, and offering advice and help to those who came to seek her solace. In fact, her book, The Revelations of Divine Love, is the first book by a woman in English. She said many things. A famous one, obviously, is all shall be well and all manner of things shall be well. But she said something else as well. He did not say, thou shalt not be diseased. He did not say, thou shalt not be in tempest. But he did say, thou shalt not be overcome. Now, you hear that from someone and you think, all right, Julian, it's okay for you. You got quite a lot of fame in your time. People came and visited you. But Julian would have been 8 when the Black Death came through Norwich. She survived revolts and persecutions. She knew how difficult life was. And yet she still founded her life on the love of God found in Jesus. So today, wherever you are, whatever you are doing, whether you are in lockdown or just social distancing, whether you are one of our wonderful key workers working to keep us healthy and well stocked, know that however distant people might seem, however tough this day may be, that nothing will stop the love of Jesus Christ reaching you. Now, I hope this has been some help. There'll be more stuff up on our channel soon. But just to let you know that we are praying for all of you. And if there is anything that we can do, or any way that we can be praying for you, please do drop us a line, email, phone call, Facebook, Twitter, and just let us know what we can be doing to help.